and welcome to Vice Cubes. I am your host, Raven Aiko. Today, in Cube 1, I will be talking about the case of 16-year-old Sequoya Vargas. Listener discretion is strongly advised, as the details in this case are very disturbing. Sequoya Vargas was born on October 29, 1976, in Fallbrook, California. Her family relocated to the Puna district of the Big Island in 1989 when Sequoya was 13 years old. Puna is one of the 9 districts of Hawaii County on the island of Hawaii, or the Big Island as it is called. Puna is a diverse area of rainforests, lava fields, and rugged coastline. If you are familiar with the 2018 volcanic eruption in Hawaii that made national news, you will also know that Puna is home to Kilauea volcano. Puna was sustained by many farms, banana, papaya, avocado, but all that changed after the eruption and the district is now struggling to make a comeback. Hawaiians and Hawaiians at heart are resilient, so I know they will come back stronger than ever. I know that when people visualize Hawaii, they think of the island of Oahu or Waikiki, but the Big Island is very different than what TV tells you Hawaii is. In size, the Big Island is the largest of the Hawaiian Islands. You could easily fit all the other Hawaiian islands on top of the Big Island, which is far less densely populated than Oahu. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, in 1990, Oahu's population was just over 836,000, whereas the population of Hawaii Island was just over 120,000. The communities are spread out between lava fields and rainforests. It takes about 6 hours to drive around the entire island of Hawaii. The district of Puna has had a bad reputation as an area of high crime. Until this day, it still carries that stigma. It is a rural area, and there are many undeveloped lands and dark back roads in Puna that make for dangerous situations. If you have an emergency in some of these areas, there is no cell phone service to call for help. Another problem Puna faces is that there are not enough police officers to patrol the district, which has an approximate area of 500 square miles. Now back to the case. By all accounts, Sequoya Vargas was a very talented artist who liked to draw fantasy art and was applying to an art college. She was also a very skilled chess player, winning a high school chess competition shortly before her death. According to her family, she had many friends. At the time of her death, she was a 10th grader at Pohua High School. On August 22nd, 1993, Sequoya Vargas told her mother that she was going to spend the night at a girlfriend's house. When she didn't return home the following night, her family called the police to make a report. According to Vargas's older sister, they were told by the police that she probably just ran away. Police initially classified her as a runaway, and it wasn't until a month later that her case was reclassified as a homicide. According to court documents, Vargas and her 17-year-old female friend were hitchhiking from Kahana Beach when they were picked up by Richard Damian Serrano, then 22 years old. Serrano then dropped the friend off at home, and Vargas went with him to the home of his cousin, 20-year-old Jason McCubbins, in Nanavale Estates. Also there was 19-year-old Matthew Gibbs. Vargas apparently knew Gibbs and may have felt more comfortable with him being there. By all accounts, she had never met Serrano and McCubbins before. According to Gibbs, in court documents, the 4 of them were hanging out, watching TV, and drinking alcohol at McCubbins' residence. Interestingly, Serrano was the only person that was of legal drinking age. According to Gibbs, Vargas had been given a concocted drink of alcohol mixed with cough medicine. It is unclear which of the men gave Vargas this drink. After about an hour, Vargas fell asleep and passed out. Serrano put her on a bed. According to Gibbs, in court documents, at this point, he saw Serrano removing Vargas's clothing while she was passed out. The men took turns raping the unconscious girl when she woke up screaming. According to Gibbs, McCubbin said that they had to shut her up because she was making too much noise, and he started punching her. They dragged her from the house and threw her into the trunk of a car to be driven by McCubbins, and Serrano and Gibbs rode separately in a van. They drove to the lighthouse at Cape Kumukahi and then drove 6.5 miles further to a 20-foot sea cliff at Mackenzie Park, where, according to Gibbs, Serrano and McCubbins threw 16-year-old Sequoya Vargas off the cliff. According to court documents, Vargas was still alive and the men could hear her moaning at the bottom of the cliff. According to McCubbins, he could hear her screaming, quote, She screamed for God and her mom, end quote. Let's let that sink in for a minute. She screamed for God and for her mom. McCubbins and Serrano climbed down the cliff because McCubbins said that Serrano wanted to make sure she was dead. They found Vargas at the bottom, still alive and groaning in pain. Serrano then threw Vargas in the water, but the waves kept washing her back on shore. So Serrano then swam Vargas out to sea and, according to McCubbins, returned without her. The body of Sequoya Vargas has never been found. So there's a thing about Mackenzie Park where Sequoya Vargas was thrown from the cliffs. It's beautiful. It's got trees and cliffs. The ocean's right there. It's got picnic spots. But there's a thing. My parents always warned, don't go there alone. Don't go there at night. Or just don't go there. You see, the thing about Mackenzie Park is that it is linked to some paranormal activity. Some native Hawaiians believe it to be a spiritual place, unsettled energy. It is located on the Malama Key Forest Reserve. At the time of the 2018 Kilauea eruption, the Puna coastline was ravaged by lava, but Mackenzie Park stood undisturbed. It is eerie and beautiful and well respected by the Hawaiian people. Some say it's sacred, some say it's haunted. I will dive more into those theories in another episode. Also, at least 3 murders happened there. One in 1980 that remains unsolved, Sequoya Vargas in 1993, and the most recent in 2008. There have also been many stories of drownings in the area because of the strong currents and crashing waves. Gibbs pled no contest to sexual assault and was given 5 years probation. McCubbins pled no contest to kidnapping and manslaughter and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Serrano fled Hawaii 2 days after the incident. He was a fugitive until 1999 when he was arrested in Mexico. He was indicted for felony kidnapping, second-degree murder, and sexual assault. He denied being involved in the kidnapping and murder, saying that he did meet Vargas that night but was only with her for an hour or so, and then dropped her off several miles away with some friends on a country road. McCubbins and Gibbs testified against him, and he was convicted of all charges in 2000 and was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms with possible parole plus 20 years. At sentencing, Judge Ricky Miyamano told Serrano, "There is very little difference at times between humans and animals, but humans have a conscience. That's what I find lacking," end quote. Serrano's appeal was denied in 2001. He will serve a minimum of 50 years before being eligible for parole. Although Matthew Gibbs was sentenced to probation, he was arrested in 2001 on a felony drug charge on the island of Maui. This arrest violated the terms of his probation, and he was subsequently sentenced to prison. There's an interesting twist in this already horrific story. Joshua Curry, Sequoya Vargas' ex-boyfriend, was scheduled to testify at the trial. However, he disappeared in November 1994 before the trials. Although foul play is suspected in his disappearance, it is unclear whether or not it is related to his scheduled testimony, as his statements to police have remained sealed. Joshua Curry was born March 24, 1974, and was 20 years old at the time of his disappearance. His case is classified as a missing persons case. At the time of his disappearance, Joshua Curry was 20 years old, 5 foot 10 inches tall, 140 pounds, had blonde hair and blue eyes. He had a dragon tattoo on his upper right arm, and his left ear is pierced. He was last seen on November 25, 1994 in the Mountain View area. If you have any information related to his disappearance, please contact the Hawaii County Police Department. Information for this case was gathered from the archives of the Star Bulletin, the Honolulu Advertiser, and the Charlie Project. Okay, so that was the story of Sequoya Vargas. I remember that case very well. Back in 1993, I was about her age, maybe a couple of years older. And this crime just grabbed the community, and instilled a lot of fear in everyone. I mean, the details about how she died, it just made a lot of people just kind of, freak out a little. The parents all reined in their children, which is a good thing. But everything was driven by fear, And for us, at that age, 18, 19, 20 years old, at that age, nothing can touch you. You feel like, you're not afraid. You're not afraid of anything. Nothing's going to hurt you. And then all of a sudden, something like this happens. And then boom, it's like your eyes are opened. Things change, and then you realize, yeah, this can happen. This can happen to me. That could have been any one of us being thrown off of that cliff. And yeah, it does happen right here in our backyard, in paradise, and somewhere safe. And it just instilled a lot of feelings in the community, a lot of fear, and just, it affected everyone. If you lived on Hawaii Island at the time, you knew about the case. You heard about it every day. So that was a case of Sequoya Vargas. I really hope this little girl could rest in peace. The way she died was horrible. Hopefully she can find some peace. And again, if you have any information about Joshua Curry and his disappearance, please don't hesitate to call the Hawaii County Police Department. Thank you so much for listening to my very first episode. Until the next one, stay safe.